안녕하세요. 저는 Erlin입니다. So today I'm not going to be talking about anything K-pop. What a shocker. So today I'm actually going to be talking about the NCLEX-RN exam, which I actually passed. Yay! So this video is probably going to be super long. So in the description, I'm going to put timestamps if you just want to find the specific type of information that I'm going to talk about, because it's gonna be a long video. So I'm gonna be talking about the whole experience of testing, how I studied, what I used to study, and just some tips or stuff I learned from studying for the exam. Because one of the reasons that helped motivated me to study was watching these videos on YouTube from other people who took the exam and talking about how I studied. So I figured I would make my own, just so people can know how to study. It can help someone out. I don't know, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, because NCLEX is really hard. Why? In terms of testing, how it works where I'm from is you finish your program and then your school sends in the information to the CRNBC, which is where I'm from. They say, oh, this person has finished their program, they're ready to take the NCLEX. So for me, I finished my final preceptorship, which is the final part of our nursing program, on the beginning of April 1st. And then after that, the school sent the information to the union, the College of Nursing in my country, and then took around a week for them to say, yeah, you're ready to take the exam. Then I got my ATT, which is pretty much an authorization to test, a week later. So around mid-April, I booked my exam, and I booked it for May 18th. Pretty much from then on out, I just started studying until the day of. So I studied till May 18th, and then May 18th, I took my exam. The whole experience was just so, I don't know. I took it in the morning, it was at 8 AM. So you go in the testing center, give them your ID, they take a picture of you, and then they read your palm print. And then you do that every time you go in a room. And every time you come out, I guess. So it's on a computer, and you answer questions, and pretty much how it works is you answer questions until it determines that, like, you're safe enough to be a nurse, I guess. I've been watching other videos and other people doing it and saying that 75 was the minimum and the maximum was 265 questions. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna get more than 75 for sure. Like, I have no idea. Like, oh no, I'm screwed. There's an option in the test where you can turn off what question you're on, so you just do questions blindly. But I forgot to turn it off, so then all of a sudden I looked and I was on question 68 or something like that. I was on question 68 and I was like, okay, it's okay, just keep going. And then I looked again, I was around question 74, I'm like, okay. So then I kept doing questions, and then all of a sudden it stopped. And then I was like, oh my god, I got to question 75 and it stopped. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I only had 75 questions. Did I do really bad? Like, oh my gosh. So I did the research questions and I left. So the NCLEX is pretty much split into 3 parts. The first part is a tutorial where it shows you how to answer the questions. The second part is the actual exam itself. And then the third part is pretty much research questions, and it doesn't count for your mark, you just answer it. So you get, like, I got a few. And so when I got this after 75 questions, it got me to the research part, so I was pretty much done the exam. So some people are gonna ask, what kind of questions did you get on the NCLEX? And I don't think I'm legally allowed to tell you, so sorry. The types of questions you can get are very ranged. There's so many questions out there. You can get anything. You can get psych questions, drugs, pharmacology, ECGs, infection, like, it's so varied. You could answer, like, a maternity question for your first question, and then the next question will be like a cardiac question, and then the next question will be like diabetes. Like, it's so varied. So like I can't really explain if the specific type of content you get. So yeah, it's really varied. It was really scary because I did the NCLEX with a friend of mine, and we were the first ones to leave. I was only in there for like, I want to say an hour or even less than that. Like an hour 10 minutes, maybe a little less than an hour. And I was like, oh shoot. And I came out of the exam feeling like absolute crap. I didn't feel like, I just came out of it feeling like I didn't pass. Oh gosh. And so I know there's a trick going around where you can check if you passed or not if you enter your credit card information and stuff, but I didn't want to do that because I'm broke and I didn't want to risk it. So I was like, you know what, I'll just wait till the next day. But that whole day of waiting for my result was just like, I felt I couldn't focus. Like, my friend told me you should be with someone the whole day just to keep your mind off of things. But after the exam, my friend and I got cheesecake and I came home. I tried to just not think about it, and every time I did, my heart would start beating so fast and I couldn't. I remember sleeping that night thinking I can't sleep. Like, I can't sleep. I would only like sleep and then wake up. I would like on and off sleep. I heard a ding from my phone and it was like a notification, and then it was around 9:30, and then I got the email that I passed. So I passed the exam. That was how the testing worked for me. I took the exam on May 18th. I booked it through the Pearson V website, and then you just go in and then you do the exam, and then you usually get your result the next day, because I got it like the next day within like 24 hours or so, but it might depend on where you're from. But for me, it only took 24 hours. Why? Disclaimer, this is how I studied for the exam and this is my experience. It might not be the same for everyone, and the way I study might not work for everyone else. I just wanted to talk about my experience. So yeah, as soon as I finished my preceptorship in April, I hadn't booked my exam yet, but I had an idea of when I wanted to do it. So I set up a schedule around that, and from that point on until my exam date, I just studied 6 days a week, Sundays off, and every day I would go to the library and just study. So let's say I studied for 6 weeks, because I studied from beginning of April to mid-May, so that's around 6 weeks. I got the Hurst Review, and for the first week I did their online videos. So I pretty much followed the schedule they had for their live review. So on day 1 they would review these videos, day 2 they would review these videos, and I would follow that schedule. And then since their review schedule was only 3 days long, for the next 2 days I just reviewed the specialty videos that they had, and then on Saturday, on the weekend, I would do practice questions, review the content, and then after that I would do cardiac questions on UWorld, and I would just focus on that and read the rationales. On my studying where I just felt that I needed to review content, like let's say I just needed to review cardio, then I would just do cardiac questions focused on cardiac, and then I would build up on that. And then the next day, if I wanted to study infection control, I would study infection control and cardiac and just build up on that until I've reviewed all the content, and I'll just do random questions from that point on. After reviewing for a week or two, for the second and third week, I just reviewing content I didn't feel good at, I just started to do random questions and trying to finish the UWorld question bank. I used to do 75 questions per sitting, but I felt that doing 75 questions, then reviewing the rationales for that was just too draining. It took too long to review. So what I did is instead I started doing less questions. So then I would do 20 questions, then review the rationales, 20 questions, and do it again. End of the day, I would try to redo the questions that I got incorrect, because UWorld has an option to do a test of questions that you didn't answer correctly before. So then I would do that. And I think in the end, I would try to do at least 80 questions a day. Closer to the exam, I would do at least like 180 questions a day, because at that point, all I was doing was questions. I wasn't really reviewing or studying anything. I was just trying to answer questions. And Hurst Review has these things called a Q simulator. So they give you 4 tests of 125 questions. I did that on the I think a week. Since you get 4, I think I did them a week before my exam, just because it's 125 questions and it kind of helps you test how you can handle that many questions in one sitting. That's what I use that to test how I would be able to endure such a long test, I guess. And how I imagine my studying is I use Hurst to review the content, and after I feel that I've reviewed the content enough, that was when I went into UWorld and applied what I learned from Hurst. And that was just perfect for me. I studied for 6 weeks. I took at least 1 day off a week, and I would study like 9 to 5. At least in the beginning, I studied 9 to 5, but then when it got to the point when I would just do questions, I'd get a little bit more lazy and I'd wake up later, and then I'd go to the library later, but then leave later. So instead of 9 to 5, I'd go from like 1 to 7 or like 2 to 8 p.m., stuff like that. And yeah, that was pretty much how I studied for the exam. The day before the exam, I just felt like I was studying, and then the day before, my friend and I just decided like, we'll review for like an hour or 2, but then other than that, like, if you don't know it at this point, you won't know it now. So I was just like, well, let's just not study. So we didn't really study, we just kind of hung out for the rest of the day. And I think on the day off, the only thing I really did review was my lab values, because I felt that I needed to like memorize it, or at least know what the general ranges were on the day of, because like sometimes I get really nervous and I forget things, so I made sure I knew that. Why? People were saying that the Saunders book was good, and I checked it, and it was pretty good content, but I already got a book that I had. I didn't want to buy another book. I just borrowed the Saunders from the library, then I returned it. So I have my own book here called Comprehensive Review for NCLEX-RN by Mary Ann Hogan. I bought it in like my first year, and it just pretty much has like bullet notes on content, and I just used that on the weeks where I just felt I needed to review my content, and not really, it was just something to use as a reference. I didn't really read through the whole thing. They have really good questions on here though, really good questions. And so I really recommend this book as well. This book is really good in terms of review. I think they have a new edition out. Yeah, I've been using this throughout nursing school as well, and so I have notes from what I've written in other years about this book as well. So yeah, I answered the questions, and then I would write every rationale that I found. At least at first I did. Instead of writing stuff I knew, I just started writing stuff that I felt that I didn't know I needed to write to review. So that's what I used. And so I used this notebook. I bought a notebook, and I just wrote all the rationales I could for every question that I thought was hard. It's a lot of stuff. And I also wrote lab values, because lab values, if we can see that there, it's all the rationales that I felt that I needed to know, and that I didn't know yet for the exam. So another resource I used was the Hurst Review, and everyone's been raving about it because they say that it's really good, you're guaranteed pass if you take it, and everything like that. And I wholeheartedly agree. What Hurst does is there's a few videos. It's pretty much based on content. I've heard stuff like Kaplan is based on how to answer questions, but what I felt I needed to review on, I thought that my school prepared me pretty well on how to answer alternate style questions. It was more for me, what I felt I needed was a content review. With having such a huge amount of content in one exam, I did not know where to start, so that's why I got Hurst. Hurst is pretty expensive. it's very expensive. It's pricey, but if you really feel that you need it, I would highly recommend getting it because it is a really good resource and it actually teaches you a lot of things and so quickly, and it just helps everything stick together, I guess. They actually helped explain things pretty well, and they had a lot of tricks in memorizing things and learning different concepts that I wish I kind of knew in school, or I knew in school but I forgot. So like I said, I got this book and there's stuff in it. I took notes and everything. I don't know if I'm allowed to show the inside, but that's the Hurst Review, and they have really good videos. They also have a question bank. I thought they had good questions, but the rationales didn't really explain the answers as well as UWorld did. So what I used in terms of Hurst was their content videos. I also used their questions when my UWorld subscription ended, and their test simulator, because again, that's a really good way of seeing how well you can do if you have a long test. So if you've just finished a program and you have the money to spare and you feel that you really need to review your content for this exam, I really do recommend Hurst because it's pretty good. They don't cover everything, but they cover the basics, and you can find a lot of things that you need for references in the book. I saw a lot of people say that they just needed to review the book in terms of this book, in terms of studying. For me, I honestly didn't feel that way, but I did feel that Hurst covered a lot of things that is in the exam, so that was a good thing. And it taught you a lot of things in terms of how to apply critical thinking. So even if you didn't know the question, a lot of the stuff I learned from Hurst helped me answer the questions correctly. Why? So another resource I used was UWorld. So UWorld is a question bank with tons of questions. I think there's a little bit over 2,000 questions you can use to study for the NCLEX. I thought that UWorld was the best thing in terms of studying. So UWorld is just like, I don't know how to explain it. UWorld is amazing. They have really good questions, very similar to what you get the exam, if you know what I mean. Very, very similar to the questions that you get on the NCLEX. If you get UWorld, you look at the layout and what the exams and quizzes on UWorld looks like. It looks exactly the same as it does on NCLEX, so that really helps. When I came into the exam and I saw the screen, I was like, whoa, I feel like I'm doing another UWorld exam because it looks exactly the same. I don't know how to emphasize enough how it's similar to the NCLEX. Like, every time someone asks me, what do I need to study for NCLEX? I just say, UWorld, use UWorld. Like, UWorld is amazing, and that's why I really like UWorld so much. So again, like I said, UWorld is a question bank. There's so many questions on it, 2,000 plus, and they sort it into different categories. You can either sort it by prioritization, delegation, infection control, pharmacology, but if you want to break it down even more, you can just focus on cardiac and endocrine and dermatology. There's so much stuff that it just breaks it down into. The questions in UWorld, they're very hard. I don't know how else to explain it, but UWorld questions are very difficult, but again, they're very similar, very, very similar in terms of what the NCLEX actually is. So it was hard at first, UWorld. I would get questions, do questions, and I would get 35-40% in the beginning because I feel like there's so much, the thinking is so different going into it. But the more you get used to it and the more you start to understand how to apply your knowledge and use that critical thinking, then you do better. So then I think in the end, I got to around, I would get 50-60% in questions, sometimes 70% if I got lucky. Don't really focus on what your mark is for the quiz. I found that really hard, and sometimes I would, but try not to and think more about what type of questions you're getting wrong or what questions you're getting wrong, and then just focus on the rationales, read them. They do a very thorough explanation of each rationale, and they explain why every option is either right or wrong. And it helped build my confidence in terms of NCLEX style questions, like select all that apply especially, and prioritization and delegation. That was stuff that I thought was really like, oh, which one to see first, or which symptoms, or what do you explain, or stuff like that. For UWorld, I paid for 1 month, so I didn't get the assessments or anything, but also because I was gonna take the exam so soon, I didn't wanna buy that much, and UWorld is also pretty pricey, not gonna lie. So I think it was around, I paid $120 for it. I just used UWorld questions to learn how to apply knowledge and do questions, and that was really helpful. In the end, there's like even though you don't have the assessment, there's a graph. I'll show it here, I'll show it in the video, but there's a graph showing, like, it's like those graph things, and it shows where you're at in terms of like your performance, and I ended in the 64th percentile. I don't know if that helps or anything, but it was above the average, so I felt that was enough indication for me that I was feeling pretty good at. And then it also shows you what kind of content that you're getting right and wrong, and it shows like under that. It's a really good indicator of where you're at in terms of studying, and in terms of what you should improve on, I guess. So yeah, UWorld is really good. I highly recommend that. Highly recommend. Why? In terms of tips for the exam, there's like a lot of things I could say, but ones I can think of from the top of my head are, if you feel that you're not ready to take it, then don't take it. For me, in terms of like my circumstances and my situation, I wanted to take it before I actually graduated, like walked the stage and got my degree, so I made sure to do that. If you're not ready to take it right away, then don't take it. I took it right away just because I had nothing else to do, so I just did it. But if you don't feel ready and you need some time, then that's okay. I wouldn't wait too long on it though, because that goes into my next tip. If you're planning to work before you take your NCLEX, then that's great, that's fine. The NCLEX is the type of exam where you can't rationalize your questions by saying, oh, this is how they did it in the hospital or in clinicals. So obviously you can do it that way in the exam, and that is a no. Like, no. Like, the NCLEX is very textbook. You have to follow what it says on the textbook, because that is the safest practice. Because I remember answering questions in the beginning and thinking, oh, well, I did that in clinical, or I did that in my preceptorship, so obviously it's okay. But no, that is not the way to do it in the NCLEX. NCLEX is a very different way of thinking. You cannot apply what you've learned. So if you have worked, keep that in mind, that your experiences from work might help you in terms of the knowledge you've gained, but in terms of studying for the NCLEX, you still have to follow what the textbook says. My third tip is, if you're going to invest in studying for the NCLEX in terms financially, save money, because the NCLEX is very expensive. The NCLEX itself, the test was around $360. Again, the UWorld was around $120, and then when I got Hurst, because I used Canadian money, the Hurst Review was around $500. So that's a lot of money, but none of it is a waste of money, for sure. It's a very good investment, because again, if you don't feel prepared and you need some help, I would recommend that you use something to help you study. There's a lot of cheaper resources out there, but I didn't want to try looking because I'd already heard good things about Hurst, and I already heard good things about UWorld, so I just used those two and that really helped. If you're gonna invest in a review program, really look into what they're gonna teach you and what kind of stuff you're gonna learn from it, because these things are expensive and they're gonna cost a lot of money. So yeah, another tip that's really helpful are cheat sheets. So it came with this cheat sheet and it kind of shows you how to answer questions and like the general rules and stuff. I can put a link in the description of the ones that I use. But keep in mind that lab values can be different for each resource. What I liked about this cheat sheet I had was it had the ECGs and I'm really bad with ECGs. So like sinus tachycardia, it had AFib, it had PVCs, VTAC, VFib, and like the interventions. So I thought that was really helpful for me. I would make flowcharts. So I had flowcharts of the drugs and the types of drugs that I had. I wrote those, and then I also, what else did I do? I also wrote basic notes and just tried to break down the information little by little until it got to the point where I would see the word and just kind of know enough information about it to answer the question. It's like as soon as I see the word heparin, like what do I think? So for my study heparin, I would think, okay, I check PTT, what are complications, what's the antidote, that kind of stuff, and like signs and symptoms and like possible complications, etc, etc. For everyone who's studying, good luck. It's a really hard exam, and because it is hard, I feel that you need to prepare a lot. But at the same time, if you go into it feeling prepared, then you can just go in, and even though the questions are hard, you'll know enough information to find the answer. Like, you won't know the answer by memorizing, of course not. It's nursing, of course, that's not how it works. But if you know enough information, you'll find the answer, and I think like everyone does pretty well. So yeah, in the end, it's just an exam, right? Like, it's just another exam that everyone does, and like it might be a little bit harder than what it usually takes. Maybe not, maybe it's the same, but once it's done, it's done. And yeah, it's just another hurdle to get through, and then you're on your way to your license, I guess. So yeah, so that's my NCLEX review video. I still can't believe I passed, honestly. I feel like I've been anticipating taking this exam for so long, but now that it's done, it's like, okay, like, wow. I mean, I'm happy I passed. I didn't have to take it again, but it's weird. So yeah, check out the channel. I don't know if I'll be talking about any more nursing stuff. I just wanted to make this video to kind of explain what I went through, and hopefully it helps everyone else. But check out the video for my reaction videos with my friends. Check out the channel. If you guys have any questions about the exam, put it in the comments and I'll try and answer it. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Good luck to those who are studying. And if you're just watching this because you like K-pop and I uploaded a video, I'm sorry. I will put out more reaction videos soon. And the group we're actually going to be doing something special in within the next couple of weeks. So yeah, check out the channel because something is gonna be happening. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye. 안녕.